guys, it's Cassandra Williams. This is Teacher Tips Monday. So this is about like ethical AI integration as an educator. Hopefully this will give you some tips on what we need to do, what do we need to focus on, and really thinking about how do we implement AI in the classroom. I hope you enjoy. So let's talk about the AI landscape. There's a tremendous amount of AI kind of flooding the market right now. Artificial intelligence is really changing the way we do things, from providing students with personalized learning experiences that we couldn't even imagine, thinking about how do we develop at our districts and our school a framework that will allow for implementation for teachers as well as students, and thinking about what do we need to do to make sure what we're implementing is effective for our population. And last but not least, thinking about what is the professional development around not only supporting our students, but our leadership, administration, as well as our families. How do we keep our families in the loop about what's going on in our school? When I'm working with districts, I like to talk about what are the 4 pillars of integration. Really thinking about transparency as number 1. Transparency builds trust with all of our people, from our stakeholders, our teachers, our team, our partnerships that we have in place, really thinking about what tools are we going to use and how is data going to be collected based on the tools that we're using. 2, really thinking about privacy. So we understand about FERPA and local policies regarding data security, but just to make sure that we're all on the same page when it comes to how we integrate, how we ensuring that our student privacy, our teacher privacy is all within the systems that we provide. And then thinking about equity and fairness. I'm all about that equitable life. What are our audit systems that ensure that we provide equity based on the tools, right? What are the biases that are in these tools? I like to tell a lot of the people that I'm training is, AI is not the infinite, is not the end all be all, meaning even though you're getting great answers, content from it, it usually spits out one answer. But when we're thinking about how do we look at things from a various lens, typically there's never really one answer. So really looking at the equity and fairness and the diversity is not quite there yet to where we want to see. Last, we think about human-centered, really looking at, balancing AI with the traditional teaching method. It is not one or the other. It's both hand in hand. It is not replacing teachers. It is a supplement. I've seen it work really well in classrooms, and I've seen it work on projects, really understanding how we can use it as a tool, but being able to plan without the tool, and then thinking about how do we speed up the process with our systems as well as supporting our students using specific tools in the field. So I know you're going to ask, like, Cassandra, what is happening? What are the trends that's happening? So we're seeing a lot of phenomenal adaptive learning happening, really thinking about what we're using, whether some of us, like coaches, are using predictive indicators, or we're able to quickly analyze supports in the classroom based on voice recognition and teacher presence. So we are using, I am using AI effective, really thinking about that. But you're seeing emerging practices from adaptive learning to immersive VR training, AI literacy frameworks being developed, workforce skill ready practices being developed through VR. So there are a lot of pieces that are coming with AI, and then thinking about business, like education as a business, and how we are able to automate systems that we are currently having in our K-12 schools, so we no longer have to think about onboarding. It's an automated process already. So really figuring out how do we audit the systems that we have now, and then how do we implement AI to do things in a more seamless way. Okay, you may want to know, how are we doing it from theory, this idea, to actual practice? Well, let me tell you about instructional design, right? We're using it to differentiate our materials, to differentiate our lessons, for reading levels. We're gamifying our classrooms. We're thinking of automated tasks as well. And so thinking about assessments and what does that look like? So here's the grading, suggests for improvement for student work, whether it be writing or reading. Administration is using it for like newsletters, attendance, scheduling. I've even seen, I'm in the entrepreneur circle, I've even seen apps to where students walk in and they're automatically marked for attendance, right? Thinking of what scan, what badges, what automations we have in place for attendance, so we are no longer wasting instructional time for attendance. And then the human connection is that teacher time, building that personal connection, and then thinking about engagement, AI-powered interactive. I've seen teachers gamify. I've seen teachers use it for motivation. So whatever you're doing in the classroom, thinking about how can we support our students even with AI projects. Okay, so here's some of my faves, but I have so many faves that it's so many to list. But some of the things I like as an instructional coach, as a teacher, we're all using like these tools, but Notebook LM is phenomenal for like podcasting different content concepts or podcasting different ideas that you want to listen to, really thinking about having study guides on a podcast idea. Now, granted, this is for me personally, but Notebook has been well also for teachers, because sometimes you want to capture content in an audience and pull from specific content. So for example, if I only want to pull from Indiana standards, I'll drop Indiana standards there and say target my lesson for Indiana standards, and they will create the lesson based off Indiana standards and not pull from outside resources. So Notebook LM has been very helpful for me as well. And like I said, the podcast piece has been really phenomenal on taking something like the teacher handbook, and so having the podcast and listening to a teacher handbook on the way to the school to support the teacher. That's kind of how I use it. So Brisk has been really big in schools. A lot of teachers have full access to Brisk, so that has been helpful. It's kind of like the ChatGPT in K-12. And so really thinking about how we're using Brisk in email, automating feedback, generate newsletters for our teachers to generate for our parents, thinking about text in every grade level. I mean, there's really this is good, but really thinking about these are not the infinite measures, and being able to I understand that, and being able to have a trained eye to know when, this is not what I was looking for when I talked about diversity, really. And then, of course, Magic School AI, everybody is using that. Really, let's see, School AI is a good one too. Really, I like School AI because it really talks about spaces, and then the teacher builds the back end working on the spaces. So I'm a big fan of School AI. I don't know why I didn't put it up here, but the Magic School AI really good too, because it's more targeted to rubrics, learning tasks, and it breaks things in specific categories to help teachers really think about what's best for their instructional goals. All right, so I have also seen AI as a teaching assistant. I was at one school where the teacher was instructing. Now, granted, this was high school, so the teacher was instructing. Students had access to the AI bot that the teacher built, and the teacher on the back end kind of said, don't give the answers. Here's the context. Here's what we're reading. If students have questions, have them put in the question, and it spits out. So now teachers get to read what students are writing. Teachers get to read the response and really get to see what questions students are asking to really inform their instruction for the next class. So in high school, I've seen it really work well. But thinking about, ideogram, visual learning tools, I've even seen wikis to where students are using AI auto draw, where you create visuals based on imagery. There's so many. Canva is a great tool. Now, not for teaching assistants, but thinking of what we're using. I just saw another one come on the market, but let me look that one up, which was really good. DM me if you want to know about that one that I just saw on the market that was really good. I'm looking to meet with them soon. Of course, your general assistants, your chat, and your school AI spaces are really good. I think I talked about that earlier. So based on the teacher's lens, hopes, and kind of concerns, thinking about, what are the benefits? We can truly provide personalized differentiation for each of our students. We can automate tasks that were so daunting in the past. Now it frees up a little time for us. High touch instruction, so it's Tier 1 is on point and provided supports as well. And then enhancing students through how do we interact with students through technology, really being able to adapt content based on needs. And then thinking about the feedback loops. Many times this is where teachers, they're it's a lot, right? Who did not meet the standards, how do we address the needs, and how do we circle back to make sure they are meeting the needs for small group pullout and supports. Here are some concerns, to be really honest. AI hallucinates, so sometimes if you are not reading it with a critical lens, you can kind of miss some biases. Just thinking of what are your privacy risks. Definitely oversight is necessary and needed, and then thinking of how do we help students and motivate them. Thinking about student agency and motivation as well. We want to make sure that we simplify AI for teacher experience, and we know that when we're rolling it out, it's not to replace our teachers. All right, so here are the 4 big steps. Begin with a clear purpose, right? Clear challenges, being able to understand and identify some of the challenges and work through it. I was working with North Central. They're doing a wonderful job with implementing AI policy, rolling out through the district, and now the district is starting to implement tasks for AI, thinking about what can our students do to kind of implement in their life. When is a great time to use it, right? Teachers are using color-coded sectors, thinking about green, all in AI, red, we don't want you to use AI on this assignment. So really thinking about what policies are in place for your teachers to ensure that they are utilizing AI in a safe space. How are you developing your framework? I encourage you to begin with policies and framework when it comes to AI. Professional development is crucial. Thinking about how do we implement professional development, support our teachers, support our parents with PD, after school PD on what tools you're using, what tools are safe for them to use, and then constantly evaluate outcomes and what you need to do to make things better. Key takeaway, what are you doing to balance, innovation with kind of ethical, the ethics? We definitely in education prioritize the human connection. There's nothing more sweeter than the human connection with our students and that critical relationship, that motivation to support our students and watch them grow. Developing AI literacy, what is okay to put in the bot, right? And what is not okay. How do we start small and scale? So one of the things that we're using in schools are Canva. So how do we start with a tool like Canva and then kind of build on that for our teachers to support them so everybody feels safe in moving on this journey? And then how do we always center what we do in equity, all decisions, to make sure all students have access to everything they need? I hope these tips help. This is Cassandra signing off. If you want to learn more about how do we implement AI into our schools, how do I as a teacher implement AI, make sure you DM me and I'll talk to you later. Bye.